Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. It is Monday. We are joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. And I will tell you, John, first of all, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
Yes.
What were you going to tell me?
Well, I put my head on the pillow of my bed Friday night thinking that on Monday when you come in, we are going to talk about nuclear war. And today I feel like we're going to talk about civil war.
We have a bigger story than nuclear threat.
Yeah, I know, which is shocking to me.
Right.
So let's begin with the controversy over the weekend of the violence in Charlottesville from the rallies that were there. The president has come under tremendous fire for this statement. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. The on many sides there. What are the sides?
Well, he said on many sides, and then he said again on many sides. And you'll find with this president that when he says something more than once, he's doubling down on his inanity. That's basically what he's doing. As if he says it more than once, it'll be somehow less inane. Here are the sides. You have neo-Nazis, white supremacists, white nationalists, racists, anti-Semites, heavily armed, taking to the street, doing Nazi salutes, saying that black lives don't matter. On the other side, you have counter-protesters saying black lives do matter. What the President of the United States did was get on the wrong side of World War II, find it impossible to attack by name or denounce by name neo-Nazis, and equate those who say black lives don't matter with those taking to the street to say black lives do. That's what we have. We have a President of the United States who, we could not have predicted this 2 years ago. 18 months ago, who is allied with a Russian dictator and defensive about neo-Nazis. That's what we've got. And we'll go ahead and ask.
But we knew going into this presidency, and people said as they left the voting booth in November that they knew what they were getting when they elected this president. And this is not new. If you look at the list of people that he has offended over the course of the campaign, this is not the first time that he's been on the wrong side of what should be some pretty easy history.
You know, I'm not prepared to say that the 46% of Americans who voted for Trump did so because they wanted to party like Germans in 1934. I'm not prepared to say that. I think he got to 46% because the Democrats had a weak candidate, because his general message, make America great again and bring back jobs, prevailed in certain key geographic areas, producing an electoral majority. These are creepy fringe people who did not deliver his victory, but who have been emboldened by his rhetoric, yes, his repeated rhetoric, to come out of the shadows and parade in public. I believe Trump was motivated in his timid, tepid response over the weekend by political defensiveness. I think he knows people are blaming him for that rhetoric. You had people out there with Confederate flags and Make America Great Again caps, and he wants to defend his ego is such, and his political consideration is such, that he wants to defend himself against this charge that they're there because of his emboldening them. So he won't even acknowledge that they're different from other groups. I don't defend all the tactics, or obviously, of some of these emerging alternative left groups. I don't, and we shouldn't. But they were responding. The central issue were these right-wing, anti-American, neo-Nazi thugs. And our president, if he wants to attack the others and criticize them, okay, but at least first say that this is un-American, that we denounce this kind of thing and that it's dangerous, and he could not bring himself to say it. And it was so egregious that every Republican in sight, including our guy, Tom Cotton, he's our guy today because he made a good statement, came out of the woodwork to say, Mr. President, say what this is. Mm-hmm. I mean, Orrin Hatch, my brother didn't die fighting Nazis for us to tolerate Nazi thought in this country. And so that's, I think of all the weekly egregious things about this presidency that has had me on here holding forth, this one takes the rottenest cake I have ever
That's saying a lot, because there's a lot of rotten cake you've
Let me tell you, if you get on the wrong side,
dictated here.
if you get on the wrong side of fascism, that's bad. That's beyond most things.
Is this problem, this issue, going to come to Arkansas in a visible way? We have a Confederate soldier statue on the lawn of the Arkansas State Capitol. The Bentonville Town Square, where there was a rally on Sunday, has a Confederate statue in the middle of it right there. Are we going to see something comparable
I do not
here
wish,
in Arkansas?
Roby, I don't wish to invite this kind of trouble. I mean, if somebody wants to make that trouble, they can make it. I'm not going to predict it. I'm not going to sound an alarm about it. I'm going to tell you, this thing was not at all about the Lee statue. That was an excuse for these people to come out and show off what David Duke plainly said was their Trump bona fides. We're here to do Trump's mission and take America back. That statue was merely an excuse. I'm not going to. I perish the thought that this spreads. We have extreme right-wing groups in this state. Mm-hmm. We do. We have more than our share of them, and there are pockets where some of their organizational centers are. But I'm too fearful and dreadful of that spreading generally, and certainly to my home state, to even speculate. I really am.
Let's take a commercial break and come back and talk about some things closer to the capital city.
Okay.
Stick around. Back with more John Brummett right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Welcome back to Talk Business and Politics Daily with John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Let's turn our attention to the capital city politics. You have written a column that was revealing and that it had some more insight as to who may be the next mayor of Little Rock. Incumbent Mayor Mark Stodola claims he is going to run for re-election. A bevy of candidates swirling around here. Does this become a six-person crowded field? Is that what you see happening, or do you think some of this stuff peels off eventually?
I think a lot of people are talking about the race and encouraging people to make the race. It's a trigger that's hard to pull. Warwick Sabin seems willing to pull it, so we'll have at least two. I don't think we'll have 6 or 8, but I think we could have enough that we could have a runoff. This is one of those strange elections that under the municipal law, if there are multiple candidates, if you get more than 40%, you win without a runoff. If no one gets more than 40, the top 2 go into a runoff. We could have enough and enough dissipated votes to have a runoff, particularly if the African American community, say with an African American candidate, is split from the liberal neighborhoods. If those are the areas that combine to make Little Rock a blue city. But they were split in the recent school election. If they're split in this mayor's election with 2 or 3 more candidates in the field, that becomes very interesting. The most interesting, intriguing name that I saved to the bottom of that column. You know the one I'm
You
going.
put your lead at the very bottom.
I buried it, but I just wanted to test to see who read to the bottom, and a lot of people apparently do. Baker Curris, largely a Little Rock hero for his passionate, vigorous efforts on as the state-appointed school superintendent, who then got fired by Asa Hutchinson and Johnny Key. He is looking to serve, and people have mentioned this possibility to him. It's all very interesting. There's not much around for left of center Democratic politicians to do on a statewide basis.
Right.
That means they're looking elsewhere, one, to fulfill their ambitions, but also if they have a desire to serve and to seek their policies. Little Rock's mayor governorship becomes a much bigger thing. It is still, and I know you got ready for it, is still a hybrid system tied to a city manager, which makes it weaker. I think part of this movement, maybe first we'll have the election, but I think we may be headed toward, with this greater emphasis on the mayor's office, going to a more traditional mayor system rather than this hybrid system.
Tell me what you think the Baker-Kurris coalition would be, because he's a Rockefeller Republican, really. At his
he's not
roots,
really a Democrat.
But at the same time, he does appeal to some Democratic constituencies because of his service to the school district.
I think you just explained his appeal. In this time of labeling and polarization, in time when our partisanship is greater than ever, even as our political parties are weaker, Baker-Kurris came on the scene as as you say, a Rockefeller Republican, which is a liberal Democrat anymore, but who has, from his school board service and in his background, is not known as a strict Democratic partisan, but as a person of great community interest, particularly on the schools, who in his school service, fighting against the proliferation of charter schools, became an absolute hero, almost the mythological hero to public school advocates in the white community and some in the African American community who, remember, were mad at him for angling to close schools as he had to do. So there's complication to that. But his appeal is that our time cries out for somebody who transcends these petty partisan divides that render us dysfunctional. That would be part of his appeal. I don't mean to go crazy about his candidacy. Warwick Sabin is a fine young legislator and is running and has had the nerve to essentially get into the race while others are just thinking about it. But the Kurris thing is
intriguing.
Very intriguing.
And we could see the Little Rock mayor's race be one of the most interesting political races of 2018, depending on how things line up.
There's not governor, there's not Senate, there's not president.
Well, there is governor.
Well, that's right, in 2018.
But there's no Senate.
I'm essentially saying there is no Senate. I know that nominally we'll have a governor's race.
Okay.
We'll have a governor's race, yes. But the congressional races, the second district may be interesting. The health care thing, French Hill may have vigorous Democratic opposition. But yeah, mayor could become one of the front page items. Could be.
All right, John Brummett already penciling in Asa Hutchinson as the another 4 years in the governor's office.
I spoke to the Clark County Democratic Clinton Day dinner Saturday night, and I said this may be the first speech to a Clinton Day Democratic dinner in which the Republican governor gets praise, and I got out alive.
Yeah, well, if Asa had been there, I'd been more impressed. So, but good for you.
Yeah.
So you made it here on Monday. All right. Thank you, John. Good to see you as always.
Always a pleasure.
That's all for today's program. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.